Have I ever mentioned that I am a huge tokusatsu fan? I mean, I did make a 10-round truth or fail. I even dedicated a couple of articles I wrote for my college paper on this subject. And some of you may remember that I even did a review of the first episode of Power Rangers Megaforce. But that's not all. I've even plunked down money on the Gokaiger DS game, 2 of the Rider Generation games, not to mention official releases of films like Masked Rider the First, Mechanical Violator Hokkaider, and the complete series release of Ultraman. So it's safe to say that I'm a tad obsessed. As such, when I found out that Shout Factory was going to be releasing the entirety of Kyōryū Sentai Zyuranger on DVD, I was really excited. For those of you that don't already know, Kyōryū Sentai Zyuranger is the 16th installment of the long-running Super Sentai series, and was the basis for the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. As such, a lot of the imagery may appear familiar to you. Now, this isn't a review of the series itself, this is a review of this particular release. I'm going to focus mainly on the presentation and translation of the individual episodes. Now, I am not a language expert by any means, but I do know quality subtitles, given that I grew up in the anime boom. So really, anybody who went to video stores or libraries hunting down various anime VHS tapes would be able to tell you when some subtitles were good and when some were bad. The series comes on 10 DVDs with 5 episodes per disc. This is pretty close to how the series was released in Japan, except we get it in one nice package, while Sentai fans in Japan were getting them 1 disc at a time. The menus are simple, but they manage to be fairly thematic. The snippet of the main theme on the main menu is a nice touch, and we even hear some of the ending theme in the episode select list. As for the video quality, it is a little grainy, but then again, it's a live-action Japanese television series from the 90s, so this is about as close as native as we could possibly get, and to me, it looks pretty good. The sound mix is also top-notch for this DVD release, and it works well when using headphones or normal TV speakers. None of that confusing 5.1 surround sound mixes playing through stereo speakers nonsense. As for the subtitles, they seem fairly spot on. They get the point of what the characters are saying across, and not once did I feel confused while watching. That said, some of the personality of the characters don't really come across. While it can be argued that that should be able to be gleaned from the acting, it's a touch that I liked in some of the fan subs I've seen of Zyuranger that we don't really get in official releases, not just of this DVD release, but even with official releases of certain foreign films and certain animated series. On top of that, there are also a few translations that are somewhat questionable. They're not a deal breaker by any means, but there are some instances where they decided to go with the absolute simplest contextual meaning of a word or phrase, rather than a translation that would have adhered to the personality of some of the characters. Now, granted, this isn't one that I can really justify, given that the characters are probably speaking in a very formal way because they're from, well, 170 million years in the past, but even then, it's definitely a sticky subject when it comes to translating Japanese to English, because certain things won't translate, and really, it's a tough balancing act, so it's not something I can completely hold against the series, but there were some things that I thought could have been translated a tad better. To end this on a positive note, I do appreciate the almost retro feel of the subtitles, kind of like you're watching an old VHS tape. It makes for an immersive and somewhat nostalgic experience while watching. Some of you may not realize this, but back in the days of VHS, back in the early days of the anime boom, we didn't get the clean-looking white subtitles that were just sitting at the bottom of the frame. We got really bright, kind of blocky yellow subtitles that were often put right here in the frame, because the TVs back then couldn't have their colors adjusted very easily, and would even sometimes cut off the image because they were 4:3 instead of the 16:9 ratio that we have in most modern televisions. As such, people who aren't used to reading subtitles like this may find them to be a bit distracting since they take up a sizable portion of the frame. As for any special features, all they have is a pre-recorded panel from Power Morphicon 2014, which I haven't watched yet since it's on the very last disc, which is why I haven't captured any footage from it, because I'm currently trying to go through the series in order. As such, don't expect any major behind-the-scenes featurettes or clean openings and closings, since this series in particular was made in a time before that sort of thing was in demand, even in Japan. Overall, this is a good set, and it's a definite must-have for any fan of Power Rangers who wants to see where the series came from. And it's also a definite must-have for any American Super Sentai fans, because it's very, very rare that we get any official releases like this. I really hope that Shout Factory decides to release some more Sentai series here in the US. Personally, I'm hoping for series kind of like Bioman or Chojin Sentai Jetman, but I'd just be just as happy with them releasing the series that kind of follows Zyuranger, such as Gosei Sentai Dairanger and Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. All in all, I highly recommend this release. 50 episodes for $40 is a pretty good deal compared to how much it would have cost to import the show previously. It has good video quality and solid presentation. Is it safe for kids? Yes and no. There are some things in the series that may rustle the jimmies of conservative parents, since the series was made to conform to Japanese television standards as opposed to US television standards, so use your best judgment. But, with all that said, the Shout Factory release of Kyōryū Sentai Zyuranger gets the Romney seal of approval. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this new format in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.
Zyuranger 永遠の戦士たちよZyuranger